The stakes are high. Many people will sell almost everything they own, including their homes, to hit the road and join thousands of others who live the RV lifestyle. Now, purchasing a new RV, a truck to pull it with, or a tow vehicle to pull behind a drivable RV can cost tens of thousands of dollars or even hundreds of thousands of dollars, depending upon how high-end of a model that you choose. So you want to make sure that you have got this right before that you just jump all in. These are things that we have found essential to successfully navigating the RV lifestyle, especially if you're jumping in full time. Some we've learned from making mistakes ourselves.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Well, that was fun times.
That was fun. So we had another slide issue.
And others from where we've seen fellow RVers fall into some of these pitfalls. And the first thing where we've seen a lot of people go sideways is in choosing the wrong RV. Now, there are several things to consider here, especially if you're going full time. But one thing we've seen over and over again is that many people think about all of the adventure and the fun, and they don't really fully consider the logistics of what daily life is going to look like in 300 or less square feet with one another or children. There is not a ton of personal space when living in an RV, especially when kids are part of the picture. Now, storing everyday items like books and clothes and toys can be a challenge in and of itself. And lastly, not every day is going to be an adventure. Day trips to national parks or being camped out next to that lake with the mountains in the background. No, there's definitely going to be many days spent just parked at the RV campground. There's going to be rainy days where everyone is stuck inside the RV. And if you're full-time, there will probably be some time at some point when you or your family gets sick. I mean, think about this. If you have 4 people living in one RV with one toilet and someone is sick, well, let's just say the RV dream can become pretty nightmarish pretty quickly. So choosing the right RV with the right floor plan for everyone to feel like they have some semblance of personal space, and maybe a bath and a half if you're hitting the road with the entire family. For many families, what we have seen is a toy hauler type plan with a garage that doubles as a bedroom really does work best. Or there are some floor plans that actually have a separate bedroom space, such as a bedroom under a mid-bunk area, or maybe a rear bedroom, and then a bunkhouse space at the front of the RV. Just make sure that you do a lot of research and choose the right RV, because this can really be a make it or break it proposition. Now, speaking of which, if you realize that the RV that you purchased maybe isn't the best fit for your travel style or the season of life that you find yourself in with kids still at home, this is the second area where a lot of RVers get it wrong. And that is not properly understanding the depreciation of RVs and trucks, basically anything with wheels or a motor. Now, a great way to think about the cost of depreciation in a way to make sure you can really afford the depreciation that comes with RV ownership is to think of it this way. And this is something that we learned from our friends over at the Ramsey Group. But let's just say, for example, that you purchase a new RV for $50,000. And then just a few years later, that same RV is only worth $34,000. So in this example, that's $16,000 in depreciation in just a few years. So if you feel like you could put 16 grand in the fire ring at the campground, light it on fire, and it doesn't change your world very much, well, then you can definitely afford the depreciation that comes with a new RV purchase. I cannot tell you how many times we have heard RVers share about how upside down they are in their RV loans.
I declare bankruptcy!
And this is exactly where too many RVers get it wrong and wind up stuck in an RV that they realize is either one, just not working well for their situation any longer, or two, they find themselves in a worse situation financially than they did when they first started this full-time RV lifestyle. Now, the third thing many RVers get wrong is when it comes to the weight of an RV. And this is really a twofold mistake. Now, one side is how much truck or vehicle you need to safely and properly tow an RV. And we'll get to that in just a few minutes. But first, many RVers, especially those that are newer to this lifestyle, often miscalculate how much weight that their RV can safely carry. Now, it's really easy to underestimate how quickly things do add up, from personal belongings to gear to water. I mean, have you ever stopped to think about how much those 3 cases of bottled water actually weigh? It's more than you think, I guarantee it. And then you add in fuel and food. Each RV has a specific weight limit known as the Gross Vehicle Weight Rating, or GVWR. Now, this includes the RV's own weight plus everything you load into it. And unfortunately, going over this limit can lead to serious consequences. Overloading puts strain on the RV's tires and axles, which can cause premature wear or even dangerous blowouts on the road. In some cases, RVers actually end up damaging the frame or suspension, which just leads to very costly repairs. And over time, the extra weight can also reduce the lifespan of key components like brakes, and it can affect the handling and just make the RV harder to control. Now, some RVers don't realize that even if the overall weight is under the limit, having too much weight on one side or one axle can still cause damage. Regularly checking the RV's weight at a weigh station and knowing how to balance cargo properly can prevent these costly mistakes. This is why we personally stop by a CAT scale at least a few times a year, or when making major modifications like adding our solar panels or renovating. Now, the CAT scale gives you quite a bit of information regarding the weight of your RV, and the second half of this equation that we talked about is miscalculating how much truck you really need to safely tow around an RV. We've seen more people, more RVers with engine and transmission issues, and in some cases completely destroyed engines and transmissions because they were simply trying to tow too much RV with too little truck. And this can be a very costly mistake. Now, the fourth thing that RVers get wrong is underestimating when to make campground reservations. For example, as of the filming of this video right now, it is September, and if you were planning on heading south for the winter in your RV and you don't have your reservations in place yet, well, good luck. Many popular RV destinations will quickly book up, and this is true especially for times like holiday weekends, but also for places like going south in the winter. But there is a little secret about how to snag campsites even when they're booked solid. We've been using a service called RV for a few years now, and it's not only a time saver when looking for campgrounds, but also finding and booking near impossible campsite reservations at some of the most popular RV destinations in America, especially during peak seasons. And this is because dozens of campground cancellations actually happen on a daily basis. Now think about it. If you've been an RVer for any length of time now, you've probably had to cancel a reservation or two yourself over the years. So I use RV to set up a sold out scan, and as soon as there is a cancellation, RV doesn't just notify me of the cancellation, but they actually book it for me right then and there. I've tried several of just the scan services or alert services in the past where you get an alert if there's an opening at a campground, but every time I would get these alerts, as luck would have it, I was not in a place where I could follow through to make that reservation right then and there. So with RV, you can set up these sold out scans for reservations many months in advance and even into next year too. It's really never too early to start planning, especially if it's one of those bucket list trips. And RV is our go-to booking service when we're planning all of our trips, even ones for next year. Our followers and viewers are continuing to share their experiences about how they RV'd their campsites in various situations, because RV's really always looking and booking for us nonstop, 24/7, 365. You could try RV for free for 14 days at gratefulglamper.com/RV. And if you decide to get started with using RV to make those reservations, we've partnered with RV for an exclusive 10% discount off the membership options. All of the details are in the description below, as well as that link to learn more. And a huge thanks to RV for sponsoring this video and their continued support of our channel. Now, the fifth mistake many RVers make is underestimating turning and stopping distances. RVs are big. In our case, they're huge and they're heavy, which means they take longer to stop and you need way more space to turn as well. Now, new RVers in particular often misjudge how much room they need, which can lead to accidents. And no, your RV will not fit through the drive-through. Which actually brings us to the next thing that RVers get wrong, and that is not knowing their RV height. One mistake that's really easy to overlook is forgetting the height of how tall your RV is. And don't take the manufacturer spec sheet for the truth. Actually get out a ladder and measure, and then use either a label maker or a piece of tape to write down how tall your RV is and put that in a very visual place. When you're facing a low clearance bridge as you're driving down the road, chances are memory recall at that moment just might not serve you the best, and you want to be able to have something to reference to know that you're still safe. Number 7 on the list of mistakes that RVers make is arriving after dark at their campground. And I feel like we're like the poster children for this mistake because we tend to do this more often than I'd like to admit.
Actually, you're okay. You're okay. Hold on, there's a big stump right there. Okay.
The truth is, it is a pain trying to find your campsite after dark, especially if you're in a place like a state park where there's no sort of escort to tell you exactly where your site is and you're driving around in the dark trying to read signs. It's a pain. So planning ahead and arriving before sunset is really your best bet to not have a more stressful campground setup than what it really needs to be. And speaking of stressful campground setups, there are a ton of mistakes that we have seen RVers make when they're setting up at their campsite, and you can learn about those right here.